Rowan, welcome to, I think we are episode number 6 now. So Give It a Nudge podcast is charging ahead.
Great.
Welcome. And look, the point of today is obviously to talk about your journeys and also both of your businesses that are working well together at the moment. And just so that everyone else knows, I have been working with you guys for, what is it, maybe 6-8 months now? Is that right? Probably.
Quite a while.
In terms of recruiting staff for you. But I would love to give the audience a bit of context about both Appboxer and the crossover agency. So Zyran, why don't you start with Appboxer and tell me a little bit about that, and then we'll go to you, Rowan, for crossover, and then we'll mix it up as the interview goes forward.
Yep.
So
Okay.
tell us just a short summary.
Okay, Appboxer is basically a software development agency, but we kind of focus more on the advisory and consultancy approach to help businesses, essentially founders starting their digital businesses, not just building their products, and then the exceeded requirements from that point onwards, and that's where kind of the Xover is involved as well.
Cool. Why don't you crossover and tell us about the agency?
That's perfect use of the branding. Thank you, Steve. So we launched the sister agency being the crossover at the beginning of the year, and that came with a number of challenges soon after that. The idea was that we were offering marketing advice, go-to-market strategies, and executing on those things for our clients and for other clients that didn't need apps. And it made sense for us to formalize that approach with our own agency, with its own mission and vision that complemented what Appboxer did for its founders as well. And it was an interesting time to launch. Little did we know what would happen, but it is a really great pairing of services, not only services, but what does it look like for a service-based company like Appboxer and the crossover to be consultants? Well, we want to live that long journey of launching a product with them. So that means marketing needs to be talked about at the same time as the product is in the very beginning.
Yep.
So that's why it makes sense for us.
Cool.
And I should note that we've launched the crossover, but we spell it with an X. And so from a branding point of view, we're still in our first year and trying to figure out what this looks like. And we've been saying the Xover rather than the crossover, but it reads as the crossover. So it's an interesting
Well, I will refer to it
statement
from now on as the Xover, not the crossover.
Thank you, Steve.
Cool. All right. So you know that big passion of mine is understanding people's stories, helping them understand their stories, both clients and candidates and employees.
Yeah.
And when you are hiring, which you have been and still are actually currently, it's really important to find people that align with your stories and that their stories align with that, and we sort of work with you and help sell that, right? And that's what this is about today. So, Rowan, why don't we start with you?
Yep.
Why don't you tell me, I guess, the story from your perspective, whether it be from the business or whether it be from you. I'm easy. You can choose as to where you sort of came from and how you've got to where you are sort of right now.
Okay. I was very fortunate to run into Zyran at a business networking event, and I learnt about what he was doing with Appboxer. I was with a marketing agency at the time and trying to come up with some innovative marketing products. And there was a great relationship that started in terms of how we were working together in our respective companies. And before that, my foray into marketing was something that came from a music business background. And I was fortunate enough as a young man to be involved in the Sydney music scene as a player and as a session player. That stopped for me due to an injury, but my drive for creating and making things and working with people, whether that was in the music business or something else, was always there. And I think that I really admired that about Zyran when I met him working with brand new businesses in the app world, which I hadn't had a lot of touch points on before that time.
I didn't know that.
Yeah.
That's what I love about this show. I've had loads of people on this show that I know, and I've learned something about them all, which is cool. So, Zyran, what about you? Tell me.
The whole story?
I've heard the whole story. It's
Okay.
quite long, so let's summarise the really cool parts. Yeah.
Okay. Well, I think just from a background, I guess I started in the industry from just a hobby perspective. I was a young kid, loved what I was doing, just making computers do things. 14, 16 was basically, parents look at you at, start earning money, go get a job. Got a job at Woolies.
Hard in your house.
For about a few months. Well, when
I'm charging you rent at 14.
They tried. No, it's mum, dad, I want a nice phone. My friends have a nice phone. I want a nice phone too. So go get a job, and that's kind of where it started. So it wasn't like go and live your life at 16. It was just if you want things, go earn it.
Yep.
Which was great. It was a typical South African family. Go swim in a deep end. Worked at Woolies for 6 months and hated it. I ate lunch one day. I was like, eating an hour away, and I was like, this sucks. Next weekend, didn't turn up to my job, and just applied for a gig online on a forum for programming. Got the gig, $25 in 2 days, and that was the start of essentially where we are now. It's just a natural evolution of where we are now, and just from saying that, it's a pure development kind of focus when it started, but then as you start developing, you kind of identify key problems where people build a product and it's not looking like it should look. So you get a better designer, people finish their product, and then they don't know how to market the thing and get it further. So then you meet marketing agencies and you introduce Rowan to the conversation, and kind of that's how the natural progression started and how we are now.
At the Xover.
And the Xover.
Tell me, how long has Appboxer been around?
In its current form, probably 4 years.
Okay.
But if you look at it from when I started, over 10 years, but not in the same state.
Okay. No. Well, nothing ever stays the same.
No.
So look, I think
it's great.
one of the interesting things, and we'll stay with you on this, is, and I built businesses too, and you've enabled countless people to build businesses, and we've had a lot of interesting people on today who are building or have built businesses. There's a lot of mistakes that are made and a lot of learnings that are had, but there's usually a couple of things, moments in life, and they could be mistakes or just things that were really hard to overcome that had a fundamental impact on that business or you. Give me an example of maybe one of them, and it could be back when you started 10 years ago, or it could be last week. It doesn't matter.
I think that there's so many. Like, it's hard to think of one particular problem.
Or maybe even one from one of your clients, if it's cool. It's up to you.
I think just one big problem I see with a lot of clients we work with is the aim for perfection.
Yep.
They don't just, they don't start their project because they spend 2 years aiming for the best possible start. My whole methodology or philosophy is to just start. Let's just get your website up there, get the message across, see what people think about it, and go from there. That's my biggest kind of learning from the last few months. Like even with the Xover, there was a lot of frustration with, the designers wanted to look, perfect. And
Yep.
just start, just get it out there. We'll get some ads on and see what the feedback is, and at least then we get, a better iteration next version around. That's
Do you think there was a moment? You said that Appboxer has been around 4 years in its current form. What was it that made it change at that moment in time? Because 10 years is a long time. Because something could have changed. It would have changed all the way along. But what was the defining thing that made it change 4 years ago?
I think it's the realization of the business can exceed just me. There was I do the programming, I do the development, I have maybe a few freelancers on board that help me do a project. But then 4 or 5 years ago, there was just a decision that I want to take it a step further in identifying those few things that could be done better and take it more than just a development shop. And that's where the advice and consultancy came on board with the conversation where Rowan was at the time, the marketing agency, bringing him on board.
Cool. And Rowan, what about you? I mean, this could be something that, coming from a music background, gosh, it's a big change to where you are now, although I'm sure there's a lot of similarities. But what was maybe one of the hardest things or biggest learnings and mistakes that you've had?
So I guess, having a background in another industry certainly, gives you new perspective or unique perspective on how to deal with things. And being a creative industry, problem solving in a creative way is a really great tool to have, especially when you're working with clients who are starting something new. The ongoing problems we always have are many and great when you're starting a new company with a new founder, And it always is so wonderful to have a founder who's tackling those problems, who's addressing them in a really critical way, and who's not afraid, as Zyran's saying, to just get started and go. So we feel like the problem question is something that we tackle every single day. Is there a defining problem? I don't know. There's certainly been some pretty epic frustrations over the last 4 years, or at least my time at Appboxer and the Xover. The Xover launched just before COVID. That was very frustrating. Having restrictions and having a strategy that was measured and at play to launch change. What that means is that the time and dedication that we had planned to commit to a certain industry had to change.
Yep.
So we took that change on, and it's been very rewarding for us, but it was unforced. Well, it wasn't forced, by anything that we've done. It was a market force, and that was pretty disruptive.
Absolutely. And look, COVID obviously is something we'll touch on. You have to touch on it. It's impacted everything and it's changed everything.
Yeah.
And you've just mentioned it just there, which is interesting. And one of the themes of today, this is the 6th interview we've done today, is that COVID has impacted everybody in a way that they weren't expecting, but all of them now, 6, 7, 8 months on, are in a better place because of it. Have you found that yourselves? Is that something that's happened for you?
I think on a number of levels, our team is probably better off for it. It's brought us together. It's helped us to identify the roles and the type of execution that we're looking for as a team. It's like from a teamwork point of view, it's been really great.
Yep.
I think it also has helped us from working remotely. We worked remotely for maybe 2 months. During that phase, we created new processes to deal with the remote work. And once we started working back from the office, those processes stayed. And it's just kind of taken us that next step forward in managing communication during the day.
Do you think you're a stronger business because of COVID?
Definitely.
Yeah.
I'd say so.
And I think that's been a common theme. And I think, and I don't know your opinions on this, but I think, and last year, Zoe, and I think that, and you would have seen so many founders, right, in your job, as do I. I think it's the way that someone with a founder mindset approaches problems. They're not in their nature defeatist. They may be for an hour a day, maybe sometimes a little bit longer, but then they pick themselves up, dust themselves off, and they go, what are we going to do about this? Let's get to it. And I think unless we've talked about founder traits a lot during this series, unless you've actually been one or worked closely with one, you don't necessarily always understand that there is always a way out. And I think that's probably what drives the difference between successful and non-successful, although I think sometimes that's not the case. But it's an interesting scenario that's been thrown at us, COVID. And I guess you think about the businesses that you are typically building and marketing. Stay with you. Is it a lot of, I'm guessing, online e-commerce? That world has obviously been pushed to the front, whereas more traditional bricks and mortar and that kind of stuff is not. Have you found that you've had a huge uptake or huge increase in the amount of people wanting to start businesses like that?
I think so. There's definitely been there's a few different segments. There's people who've been in long-standing jobs who were made redundant and get a massive payout, and they take their idea that they've had for ages now to kind of take their life forward.
Their chance.
Yeah. And the world's speaking to them. This must mean something. So start something. And then there's the other guys in the industry who are basically creating urgency, like this is an opportunity, let's get this app out now because the market is ready for it now. Everyone's stuck at home. They can look at an app if we get it out there in time. And then there's another space which is so many digital conferencing cool app ideas that came at us when COVID came. So 3 different segments. So some opportunities went away, but then new ones came across with more urgency, which was a bit annoying because you need time to plan it right.
Yep. But not perfection though.
But so the problem was we want it out in 3 months before COVID goes away. It's just not possible. So it created more opportunity, but at the same time it also distracted us a bit. So we were excited at one stage for all those opportunities that did come, but then we had to kind of make the decision to kind of push them away. It's not realistic for us to get something out in 3 months.
What is a life cycle for, I don't know, an app or an online e-commerce store, for example?
Our average app development is around around 4 to 6 months.
It's quite long. It's longer than I would have guessed, actually.
Yeah, so there's different kinds of app development cycles you can go through. Everything we do is custom built. It's bespoke. It's brand new. There's some reusable modules. Some other app development strategies, you can do rapid development, which is you get something out within a month based on things you pull from the shelf. That's not our model. We focus on the custom build that exceeds what you can get off the shelf.
Yeah. Okay. Cool. And Rowan, what about you from a marketing point of view? Have you, personally, I've changed the way I've been promoting the Nudge Group, and because I know that now everyone is far more digitally engaged and is online more, and there are more eyeballs on screens, as I say, or more eyeballs on phones, which is obviously great for you guys. Have you changed the way your marketing, or is marketing spend changed because of COVID?
Yeah, I think that before COVID hit, we were going through a very great growth period, and marketing spend was being increased on a number of channels, and then COVID hit and we plateaued. And now we've got a new strategy which looks a little bit similar. It's still aggressive, it's still online. We're still focusing on reaching the right founders, and we're going to play in more social land. The social side of attracting founders and potential, clients or partners, if you like, is a longer one on social because there's a lot more education happening. Yep. It's more about the culture and how we work, and through other channels, we're finding that people are more ready to move forward. They've considered as a founder in their mindset, they've already considered moving forward in some way, whether they've done the research or whether now's the right time for them. And it's interesting because the more we speak to more founders now, like right now, some founders are classified as have a high risk appetite, or they don't. And those that don't still want to do this idea that they've got in their mind, but they just don't want to move forward. And we offer a lot of value in terms of understanding what it takes to launch and plan a digital business. Yep. And we always talk about marketing as well. I mean, it's really, really important to get traction with your idea, but it just offers a lot, the need to be brave, to take that step. Yep. And people might classify themselves as a founder with an idea, but there's still a lot of risk-adverse people. Even though change has been forced upon everyone, there's still people that want to do feasibility until the cows come home and not test a product with their market. So for us, we want to attract through our marketing people who have more of a risk for appetite, because they want to get moving. And yeah, so we need to...
I mean, I think that's an essential trait. Procrastination is the death of all startups, right? And I think all of us would agree with that. And look, I've seen it. I've seen COVID change people's willingness to change jobs. Up until now, people have changed jobs like that. Yeah. But there's definitely a little bit more hesitation. Yeah. There's a lot of more people available, which is great. But when we're headhunting, the desire to potentially consider a move has changed considerably.
Yeah, absolutely. I think design through marketing is really important right now. I think that delivering a message with fantastic design, like moving design, something that is unique, that is not stock, makes a big impact on founders who are they're going to make an emotional decision, who are looking for a partner like us, a technology partner. And I think that if you've got an appetite for risk, you're not procrastinating, you see something that looks really good, you look into it, and then we become a real good option at that point.
So you have made me sound really intelligent this week, and I haven't told you. In fact, it was more so today on one of the earlier podcasts. We had a couple of founders who've just finished the Antler program, and they started a business called Level, which is essentially a training partner for professional development, mentorship, all this kind of stuff. And they're very early days. Right. Anyway, we were delving into one of the founders' backgrounds, and he starts talking about no-code design, which I hadn't heard of until you and I spoke last week. Okay. So I was sitting here just waiting for him to finish so that I could tell him that I knew all about it. So thank you for that, because I know that I've looked at, and I've done a little bit of research on it. It's amazing what you can do. And I guess that's what you're talking about in terms of impactful design and all that kind of stuff. So thank you, firstly, because it made me look so much better on 2 podcasts ago.
Okay, good.
But it's also, I think it's a game changer. It's a game changer.
It's a total game changer, and hopefully that then makes people who have who are either procrastinating or feel like they can't move forward, a little bit of incentive that they can access beautiful design and make something move forward.
Absolutely.
And get traction quickly, because once that momentum kicks in, that's everything.
Yep.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm going to change a little bit of a jump.
Great.
So we can relate this to your businesses, or we can relate this to everything. This is the question that I always look forward to, because I get the most interesting answers, and it's the belief question, which you probably talked about in the car on the way here, like everybody else.
100% we did.
So tell me, let's start with you, Zyran, which I know you've been dying for this question. Is there a belief? And when I say belief, I'm talking about a core belief. Core beliefs are what make you what you are as a person.
Yeah.
Right? And you could have had it as a child, or you could have had it last week. It doesn't matter when, that you had, that you changed, and what was it that made you change that? Because this is a major shift in a person's life, and it can happen at any time. Go.
You lost me. It's a very hard question.
It's a very hard question.
Very hard. So a belief that I had that I changed because of something happened.
And look, if you haven't had a core belief, and not everybody has, and I'll give you some examples. There was a lady in earlier called Gillian, who is the CEO of a company called Vamp, who I've known for many years, and she was instrumental in growing a number of very well-known startups. She had a core belief that you could not work from home. No one could work from home. You had to work in the office, and now she could not be more in the other camp. So that's not maybe core, but it's a belief that has changed, and COVID's caused that. Now, it doesn't have to be COVID. It could be a parent-related. It could be anything. But something there you changed as a person. Nothing? Tell you what, I'm going to give you 2 minutes.
Come back to me.
I'm going to jump straight over to Rowan, who's going, no, don't come to me. Rowan,
I'm hoping you stuck with it as well.
something that you believed that you now don't necessarily. You go, you know what? I was wrong. I'm happy to admit I'm wrong, and now I'm going to embrace this new way forward. And I'll give you another example to buy some time.
Thank you.
I have had 3 businesses, as you know. This is my last one. The 2 prior, we never did any marketing.
Okay.
And we certainly didn't do anything like this. We did cold calling, we did traditional ways of getting leads out of people, all that traditional stuff. When I started the Nudge Group, I said to myself, I don't want to do this the same as my last 2 businesses. I want to try and do everything different. I want to learn. I want to push myself, right?
Yeah.
And so I started to learn marketing through someone that you know, actually, who's taught me marketing, and we do a huge amount of marketing now.
Right.
And it has blown me away, and I'm an idiot that I didn't do it for the last 15 years, because it's a hell of a lot easier than cold calling or gaining leads or employing people to do your sales. You can achieve an enormous amount with just a little bit of time and care, and then good implementation, and having someone who knows the tricks of the trade, so to speak. And it's completely changed my attitude and belief as to how I'm going to grow this business. That's massive for me. I mean, it's just mind-blowing. And the last year of doing this business, I've learned more than I've ever learned in the rest of my life. So there's mine.
Yeah.
I've given you another one. Come on, you guys have got to have something.
I think I think change in a core belief requires a defining moment.
Absolutely.
So every day we talk to people who have had defining moments in their lives, and they want to move forward as a result of that. They're founders. They identify with themselves as having this passion. They're going to make a difference. They're going to change something. So it's an interesting perspective, because it's not just, we're not a product, right? We're working with people who have had defining moments, and they talk about it, and they cry when they talk about their idea.
Wow.
They're so passionate. I've got a couple of clients in mind who just get so emotional and moved when they're trying to describe the story again of where they are right now and where they've come, and this is why the product is going to change many people's lives. That is a core belief right there.
Yeah.
I don't think I've had a defining moment or a defining core belief change. I think COVID has forced change, maybe in the way that I interact with people. I'm not sure that I've had that. But what I do know over the last couple of years is that my belief in doing the due diligence, doing the research, understanding the market, planning, and getting all your ducks in a row means nothing unless you start. And we have founders who come to us and say, I've done all this research, and I've now got this feasibility statement in place, And when we design the product for them and they launch, they have no traction. They have not got any traction because they've not spoken to any of their potential clients.
Yeah.
They just thought that they could read the market. And I also was part of that camp of thinking that you could research until the cows come home and you will be really, really well prepared. And I just don't think that that is going to give you any sort of peace of mind or certainty. I think you need to launch and learn and build and measure and continue.
You know, there are so many little video grabs we can get out of what you just answered. Awesome. We're going to be able to, now I'm Mr. Marketing, right? We're going to be able to market the heck out of that.
Okay, all right.
That was awesome.
Good.
So, no, good answer. Good answer. Zyran, have you got something?
I have two for you.
Excellent.
Look at you.
I was only,
now.
all of that was so that he
Buying me
could think
time.
about more.
But I'm also thinking, like, there's two people in the room now, and I'm gonna give you both some kudos. So one is for the recruitment agents. I did not believe in a recruitment company ever because we've had a trial and experiences with everyone. They all sucked until we met you.
Yeah.
So that's
I'm blushing, I'm sure.
The belief has changed there. Another belief I had was when I started the company, I believe that no one is ever going to be a part of the company. It's just going to be Zyran's company. This is going to be my thing. I think there was a big piece where Rowan came in the door, as well as we have another partner in the company called Easy now. I think giving a part of the company and allowing more people to be part of the journey, it has definitely excelled the company much more than I ever could have.
And that's a great answer because that is a core belief of yours because you even
100%.
mentioned it earlier when you realised it could be more than just me.
Stubborn South African sitting here talking in front of you. Like it takes a lot to kind of takes a core belief. It's very hard to find your core beliefs because it comes from a place of stubbornness. I don't have any core beliefs that I'm not willing to give away. So I think it takes a lot to kind of realise what it is.
I think that's a good answer. I like it. Okay. Books and podcasts, right? We ask this because people love to know this, and it gives people an opportunity to look things up. We'll stay with you, Zyran. So it doesn't matter if it's books or podcasts or both, and it doesn't matter whether you're listening to them currently or have read them in the past. Give me some ones that have meant something to you that you really would recommend others to read.
I think podcast. Tim Ferriss. Just it's
entertaining, isn't it?
Always go back to him, and also relatable, depending on who he has on the podcast. And then a book, this is the only book, and I think everyone has, it's like the grandfather of all books, it's the 7 Habits of Highly Effective People. Just kind of keep going back to it.
My dad gave me that when I was young.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, when I was really young. He was very much into positive thinking and all this. I was exposed to a lot of that was young. But have you read the Tim Ferriss books as well, the big ones, the Tribe of Mentors and...
I think I did
they're very good.
Bite sizes.
They're short stories, and I've got a very low attention to detail, attention span, low attention to detail as well. Same. But yeah, okay, cool. Rowan?
I think a really great podcast to listen to is How I Built This with Guy Raz.
Don't know that.
He has a really great conversational manner in getting to the root and the story of that founder's journey. And he always finishes with the same question, and he's asking people like the guy who created Shopify, the Airbirds story of the shoes, really amazing stories. And the final question is always, how much of your success do you attribute to luck?
Good question.
Or your own smarts, your intelligence.
Geez, you get some interesting answers. I bet you're dying to hear that question.
Yeah.
Do you ever skip ahead?
Yeah. Oh, I do. I have, because there's, the hour to an hour and a half of conversation. I just want to know what that response is sometimes at the end, so I do. But I'm a big audio book listener. I love Daniel Pink. I've got a couple of books I'm listening to with him at the moment. And summaries of books are really great to get through a lot of content.
Like Blink List, that kind of thing?
Yep. Anything that's anywhere between 20 to 30 minutes as a summary is pretty good. Anything less than that doesn't cover enough of what the book is. I think I'm listening to the classic Thinking Fast and Slow at the moment, Daniel
good.
Kahneman. But I listen many times because for me to internalize, I start thinking about applications when I'm listening. So I then lose my focus.
Yeah, I'm the same.
So I've got to go back
whilst I'm doing it.
Yeah, exactly.
Blink List's interesting. I actually interviewed the other day one of the first 10 employees there.
Okay.
I think it was started in Germany or somewhere in Europe, I can't remember. Anyway, they'd moved here and they were looking for a job and they were telling me all about that. I interviewed also this week a lady who was sitting in the room when Visa first came up with putting the 3 numbers on the back of the card. She was in that meeting when they came up with that idea.
Wow.
Had some interesting people this week. Anyway, I digress.
All right.
Last question, and this is one of the main reasons we're doing this, and there's nothing, you can never explain working for somewhere like the 2 owners or founders of a business. So I'm going to ask you both separately. We'll start with you, Zyran. If someone is thinking about or sees an opportunity with Appboxer, and you're hiring right now, or the Xover, was that right?
Yes.
Yep. Why should they come and work for you?
I think it's Appboxer gives the opportunity to work with a lot of interesting clients, a very diverse portfolio of clients that we work with, and just the way we do our work, everyone owns what they do. Very, the ability to own the deliverable and the outcome and that relationship with the client, it's very unique. So I've been told, I don't know, I've never worked for anyone else. So I think that's kind of what sets us aside from a different opportunity that is for what we're hiring for at the moment, anyway.
Okay, cool.
Yeah.
And Rowan, same question as you. Not allowed to say ditto.
Okay. I mean, the culture, that reflects the culture. And as the company has grown, we've got a great team. In the nature of owning the work that we do with our founders, it's, there's a conversation every day on new things. So that ownership ditto is amazing. But what it does is it gives people an opportunity to have a very real experience of starting new businesses at scale. And we're growing, we're doubling every year. So there's no reason why we shouldn't be able to attract amazing people to work with amazing founders.
Well, you have been.
Absolutely, and we thank you for that. We have to say that one of the challenges, and maybe we should have brought this up a bit earlier, is our location, because we're not based in the city. But if people can overcome that.
Look, I think it's becoming easier to overcome.
Yeah.
And I think that will continue to be the case. And I think you'll see more businesses moving out of the city.
Yeah.
But look, location, it's always a plus or a minus. I think whereas where you are, you're sort of on one side of Sydney. So if you're on that side of Sydney, it's great. If you're on the other side, it's not great.
Yeah.
But I think the city will also become a point where people go, well, you know what, I don't want to go to the city anymore. So I think the city will actually become a bit, not always, there'll still be a huge element of people. So I think having that one central place, which we've had for forever, where everyone comes to work, I don't think that's coming back. So I think your problem is going to be everybody's problem now, and it will just become the normal, if that makes sense.
Yeah. I think anyone that enjoys taking on big challenges, critical thinking, loves working with people at the same time, will absolutely enjoy working with us.
Awesome. Boys, thank you very much. It's been a pleasure to have you on. Really enjoyed chatting to you and found out a couple of things about you that I didn't know, which is always so good. I wish you the best of luck. We will no doubt be speaking tomorrow probably, and the next day whilst we continue on. But thank you, and we'll get you back, I'm sure, in a little while to see how you're going.
Awesome.
Thanks,
Thank you.
Steve. Thanks. You're our favourite.